off of the title of your book, I had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Tough questions too, right? You know what I'm saying? You said no sugarcoating and no
Yeah.
coddling, so I got some tough questions that I want to know. But definitely with the title of the book, I was like, oh, I got to talk to this sister. So,
Sure.
um,
For
okay,
sure.
so we're gonna get going.
Okay.
One second, let
I'm
me
ready. All right.
welcome back to Mighty Talk with your host, Baruk Almighty. All right, today we got a special guest, Lacretia Roberts. All right, Lacretia Roberts is in the house, and she come to talk to us today about her book, okay? The
Yes.
Safe Parents Guide to Parenting with a Narcissist. All right, I'm gonna
Mhm.
tell you, the sister is the CEO and founder of Elevated Therapy and Wellness. Okay, so the sister, she got her hands in everything. All right, she got her hands in everything. She said she got a master's, and she said she studied family. So we got a lot we're gonna talk about. Once again, I appreciate you tuning in. Okay, tune in. There's gonna be a great episode. We got some good questions. We're gonna have some amazing answers. Lucretia, how you doing? How you doing, sister?
I'm doing good. I'm ready.
Okay, okay. How long have you been in the whole being an author, writing, and the whole therapist? How long you been doing all that?
Writing pretty much my whole life, but actually publishing my work, I just did that. This is my first work that I've published to the public, um, where I was talking about a nonfiction topic that's relevant to the real world. As far as being a therapist, that's going on about, actually, now that it's 2026, I'm going in 4 years.
Okay,
So still fairly new to the field, but not new to the work. So yeah.
okay. And so
Yeah.
you say this is your first book, and
Hmm.
your first book is targeted at your child's father, I'm guessing.
No, I'm not a single mother, so I didn't know if you knew that, but
Okay,
I do help parent with a single mother to accommodate for my niece whose father is, from my professional opinion, a grade A narcissist. But I think that it's not just my personal experience, it's also the work, the families that I've met. I have learned and been exposed to so many where I'm seeing, uh-oh, this is since this is a more severe presentation of something, the behavior patterns, the behavior tactics that I'm starting to see more and more. And it's a problem that I'm seeing the other clinicians in the field, family court systems, child and family advocates, they don't know how to deal with this. They don't know how to recognize this. They don't know how to understand this. And we need to fill this gap with knowledge and a way forward because these people are suffering. So that's kind of where this whole thing was born, a combination or a culmination of all that I've seen so far.
okay. Are you married?
No, I'm not.
You not married? No
No,
children?
no,
Okay, okay. And you
no.
just say you just work with the families, and off of the experiences that you've seen, you wrote your book.
I have,
That's what
yes.
that's where we at.
Stop fighting for attention and start getting it. Whether you need shoutouts, promo videos, or a full feature, I'm helping businesses grow through Mighty Talk. Check out our affordable packages starting at $75. Shoot me an email at mightytalk@mail.com. Success is one email away.
And you say you co-parent with your
Mm-hmm,
sister, helping her
mm-hmm,
with the niece.
mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So you would count that as some type of parenting experience for yourself.
I would that, and just I'm a marriage and family therapist, so with that, I deal with lots of kids who are in these same dynamics. And sometimes therapy is the only space where they're getting the support that they need from their parents. So I feel like I'm an auntie. That's the thing. I am a part of the community that helps raise children all over, not just in my personal family, but every child that crosses my path. I try to leave with some education. I try to leave with an impression so that when they see me, they think, oh, I remember her because she hurt me. And so, yeah.
What type of environment did you grow up in? Did you have father and mother? You had one parent?
So I was raised by a single mother,
Right.
um, inconsistent father presence, but mostly none. That kind of tapered off, I'd say, probably around age 6 or 7, maybe. Um, there definitely wasn't it was a single mother home. And so yeah, that it was it's not something I'm unfamiliar with, the dynamic of what it is to live the life of a single mother, being able to witness my own. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you this.
Mhm.
Because the title of your book is The Safe Parent's Guide to Parenting with a Narcissist.
Yes.
For somebody that doesn't know, what is a narcissist?
So narcissists typically refer to the clinical terminology for the personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD. And so the Diagnostic Statistic Manual or Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders, which is what clinicians use to make their diagnoses, the way that it classifies it is through the use of 9 traits. These traits vary. You only need to have 5 out of the 9 to meet that criteria. But you can only be diagnosed by a professional or a mental health professional or clinician.
So this is,
And
hold on, I hate to interrupt you. So when you talk about diagnosis, this is something that people go to the doctors for.
so, so to clarify,
Help the audience out, because I'm gonna tell you right now, they might be like Baruk Almighty and be confused. So help the
that's
audience out.
okay.
All
That's
right.
okay. Yeah, yeah. So when you go to the doctor for a physical ailment, a cold, the flu, I sprained my wrist, things like that, they do give you diagnoses. However, in the mental health field, a marriage and family therapist, a licensed mental health counselor, a licensed social worker, they can give you diagnoses too. However, the books that we use, so for medical professionals like a doctor or an MD, that's going to be your medical doctor, or your primary care physicians. That's going to be your nurse practitioners. That's the body. That's the physiological symptoms. We over here, where I am, we work with the mind. So there are a lot of ailments of the mind, in some words, disorders, unwellness of the mind, afflictions, whatever you want to call it. And we use a different diagnostic guide than, say, a medical doctor would. But we all diagnose. So it is something that we do formally. So we would be, for people using insurance, we're supplying this diagnosis to your insurance to say you deserve to be covered because this is what your mental wellness or unwellness is that we're working to heal. So yeah.
Okay. And let's go back, because I did interrupt you.
That's
In the
okay.
plainest sense possible, can you
Hmm.
explain what a narcissist is?
I know I done figured it out. And nobody's going to be able to tell me anything differently. This word narcissist that y'all use 24/7, 365 is how y'all are getting away from being in relationships and having to actually put in. Well, what do you mean, Ash? Y'all will label these men as narcissists because they have actual wants and needs. And the moment that man uses any I statement, I feel I need, I want, see, you're a narcissist, it's always about you. No. The fact of the matter is, a lot of women are selfish. A lot of women lack accountability. A lot of women refuse to admit, I made a mistake and I messed this up. It is so much easier for them to say, he's a narcissist. It had to be his way. He was so controlling. He gaslit me. No, y'all are not using these terms correctly all the times. A lot of times it's, you don't have any communication skills. Most of the times it's, you don't have any conflict resolution skills. And 99% of the time it's, y'all are selfish. But what do I know? I'm just a pick me.
So narcissist is a severe personality type. a disordered behavior and disordered thinking in relationship to reality. These are going to be people who see themselves as gods. And I don't mean in the spiritual religious sense, I mean in the I am omnipotent over all other mortals who exist since, and all of you are beneath me. So we call that grandiosity. They are arrogant, they're entitled, they will exploit, use other people to their benefit without regard for any repercussions to that person as long as they're still able to benefit. They are devoid of empathy, though they are capable of mimicking it. Um, they tend to become preoccupied, bordering obsession with things like your a career or finding the perfect love or obtaining social status that's very high up or public image. They want people to like them, but they also want that entitled you're supposed to like me because I'm basically God kind of persona.
Okay.
So yeah, those are just some of the traits and characteristics, but ultimately this is a person who was made from a few different possible predicaments, either a very fragile ego, where from childhood they were made through some sort of trauma or parenting or variety of systemic aspects or exposure in their environment. Through a combination of things, they were made to feel very unimportant, very small, very left out, and very out of control. And to compensate for that shrinkage that they unjustly felt as children, they develop an overcompensation. Now I'm going to make myself so big, no one can ignore me. No one can deny that I am so great. It can come from being made to be shrunk small, and or it can come from a overindulgent lifestyle where they are made to be, as children, the most important person ever made to exist, which inflates their ego from the go. They're thinking, look at all I get, look at all these privileges. It must be because I'm wonderful, I'm great, and this is what I expect always from everyone. So these are the kinds of people that will discard their children if they meet a relational partner who doesn't want kids. So it could be as simple as, oh, you don't want to have kids? All right, I will terminate my rights as a parent and just completely abandon them with no, just like that, blink of an eye. So we're
Hold on, let me
talking,
hold on
yeah, yeah.
for that example. So you're saying the man had children over here, and then
Mm-hmm.
he met somebody else over here that didn't
Mm-hmm.
want children. So he says, I'm all right with not dealing with these children to be with this person who doesn't want children.
Correct. But
Correct.
I want to clarify something because there is a huge misconception, or I guess myth, that narcissism is an affliction only for males, and that is not true. It is not just men, women can be narcissists too. Plenty. So it can be he
What
or she.
what's the ratio?
I don't have the numbers in my head right now, but it's not a there's no landslide. There's no landslide. I know that much. It's not mostly men. It's not only men. It is both. I have seen and lived through, witnessed both an equal amount of times throughout my profession. So, but there are statistics, there are researches out there, and I do think I quoted in my book.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So all right, that's what a narcissist is.
Mhm.
What I want to know is, would a person know that they were dealing with a narcissist? Like, how long would it take for you to be like, you know what, this person is a narcissist?
Yeah. Yeah.
How how long would that take?
It is It varies. It really just depends on where that person is in terms of their ability to self-reflect, in terms of their ability to have external awareness. So if you're with someone that is a narcissist, one of the things that they do, one of their behavior traits, is they will mask. What that means is when you meet them, you're not going to know that they're a narcissist because obviously that would be a deterrent, right? So they're going to present to you their best self, their most charming self. That's the other thing, that a narcissist is a very charming person. They know how to work a room. They know how to read people very well. These are things they've learned very early on during childhood. But this is something that they have also developed, which is the ability to be master manipulators. So when you first meet a narcissist, you have no idea. You think you've met the best friend in the world, or your best partner. They're funny, they're engaging, they're intelligent, they're witty. They're gonna hit all the points, whatever the points are that they know you want, they're gonna
These
get
don't
them.
sound like I'm listening. These
Yeah.
don't sound like bad traits. He can work a
No.
room. He
No,
can, or
they're not.
she's very charming. It doesn't sound like it. I'm trying, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
to gauge, but I'm like, okay, well, some of the most successful people in the world probably got that way because they were
Absolutely.
charming, and they were funny, and they were.
Yeah.
So why would this? How did this turn into a bad thing?
He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say?
You're right.
Funny how? What?
Just, you're funny.
You mean,
So?
well, let me understand this, because maybe it's me, I'm a little fucked up, maybe. But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you? I make you laugh? I'm here to fucking amuse you? What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
No, just, how you tell a story. What?
No, I don't know. You said it. How do I know? You said I'm funny. How the fuck am I funny? What the fuck is so funny about me? Tell me. Tell me what's funny.
Get the fuck out of here, Tommy.
You motherfucker! I almost had him! You stuttering prick, yeah. Frankie, was he shaking? I wonder about you sometimes, Henry.
And also, how do you treat a narcissist? Do you say, narcissist, you're nothing? Don't be funny. Stop working the room. Like, how do you treat it?
So the reason that I'm pointing out the positive traits is because a lot of times when you hear talk, especially in social media environments or just in general, you're hearing about the negatives. You're hearing narcissists are so bad, they're hurtful, and they are all those things, but they are also good. They also have very good traits. And I'm not saying these traits are bad. I'm saying the opposite. They have the potential to display everything you'd like to see in a person that you want to be around. That's what makes it so dangerous, because you never see it coming. You don't see it coming because in your head, just like you just said, I want to make sure I say it's Baruk.
Baruk.
Okay.
Baruk Almighty.
Baruk Almighty. All right. So yes, we want to make sure, that they're engaging, they're open, they're inviting, they need to draw you in. And so they're not going to, present all those negative traits and things. They're going to present as really good people. And when they do, it is good. It's all good until it's not. It's all good. And the other thing that's important to understand is that, narcissism is a spectrum. And so to some degree, there is within human nature a very natural and very small percentage of narcissism that we all display. But it is not enough to meet the criteria for the diagnosis of a personality disorder. So, like I said, there's 9 behavior characteristics, 9 traits. You only need 5. The normal human being will exhibit maybe 1 to 3 in their lifetime naturally. So that person that works the room, that person that's charismatic, that person who on their birthday is like, yeah, it's all about me, baby. It's my birthday. They're going to display some narcissism, but it's not going to be anything outside of the normal margins, anything outside of what's typical and what's expected. We're looking at people who have 5 to 9 traits. Those are the people that are concerning, because the other thing about narcissistic personality disorder is it exists on the cluster B, which there are different clusters to organize or categorize the severity and the type of different mental health disorders. Narcissistic personality disorder exists in cluster B. In cluster B, you have borderline personality disorder, you have histrionic personality disorder, and you have antisocial personality disorder. These are all very dangerous personality disorders, dangerous for different reasons. But narcissists, the research is in my book. I can't stress that enough, but the research says that there is over 50% overlap between a person who has narcissistic personality disorder and any of those other three. And then there's a 25% overlap with narcissistic personality and antisocial. So that's why I say there's a spectrum, meaning there's a variety of different presentations that you can get from a person who has this disorder, no matter what the blend or combination in a family dynamic around a growing, developing child who is sensitive, who is hormonal, who lacks impulse control. This is dangerous. It's dangerous because when you're dealing with a narcissist who prioritizes, work to an unsafe extent over their child, or being in a relationship with someone over the needs of their child. So you might have a narcissistic female parent who their boo calls and they're on the phone in their bedroom with the door locked for 6 hours while her 2-year-old and her, 1-year-old are just outside the bedroom, haven't ate, haven't been changed, haven't been bathed. They're being neglected because she's prioritizing her call with her boyfriend or whoever her love interest is. That's how it gets dangerous, because while it may not be a physical, she's not hurting them, it's still dangerous for those children, because how often does that happen? How often are they exposed? And the worst thing is, how does the father who comes and notices, after that mother has had her kids for her parenting time or what have you, these kids have lost a couple pounds over this parenting time. What have they eaten? How do I prove this in court? You know what I mean? So that's when it gets dangerous, because you can't hold them accountable. It's difficult to say, hey, I picked up the kids and they seem, they just seem hungry. Had they ate? They're not going to tell you, they didn't feed their children. That would make them look bad. So these are the kinds of things that create a severe issue. And that's just, this example is probably one of the milder ones. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So once again, how would you treat a narcissist? So my wife, she's a narcissist. All right. She got this issue.
Mhm.
What is your method of healing her?
Therapy is more popular than ever, yet people seem to be more lost than ever. So what exactly are we doing? I mean, people are going to their therapist's office week after week. They're sitting for 45 minutes to 1-hour sessions. They leave with the problem, and they come back and they do it all over again the next week. For some people, it feels good to say, I'm in therapy, I'm taking care of my mental health. No matter how many times you go to therapy, some of you are living in therapy, some of life's problems are just going to have to be managed. That's just the way it goes. And so, am I the only one that's noticing this trend of how popular therapy is, yet nothing seems to be changing?
So narcissism is extremely difficult to treat because of the very nature of the disorder. They're not going, first off, when you step into the therapeutic space, when you are a person who decides, you know what, I'm not happy with, either something about myself, or I'm not happy with something about my life or whatever. I'm healing, I'm broken, I'm sad, whatever. When you decide therapy is the path you're going to take, that involves making a decision to say something in my life is not working, right? Something isn't going how I want, and I want to change that. Narcissists are never going to admit there's something wrong and not going correct in their life, because that goes against the very nature of what it is to be a narcissist. Narcissist is, my world is perfect, you're the problem. If you see anything wrong with what I'm doing, then you're the issue, not me. It's not my behavior, it's not what I'm doing, it's you for observing it. It's you for calling it out because you just want to be miserable or unhappy or whatever. The only time you'll see a narcissist in the therapeutic space is when they are trying to exploit or emotionally abuse their partner or the other person, or they are trying to manipulate a situation for court. This is,
Now, I'm
yeah,
gonna be honest. So it
yeah.
don't sound like you trust these people at all. Because it's like you said, the
Trust.
only reason he would be there, or she, the only reason
Mhm.
that they would be there is to manipulate. So
That is, yeah, yeah.
it's no trust in once somebody's labeled a narcissist, they on the Lacretia exomorph list. We ain't dealing with this person because the title of your book was co-parenting. So how would a person co-parent with somebody who's incurable?
So this is tricky. So I'll answer both of these. So first, to complete, I think I want to go back a step. So there is something called narcissistic collapse, right? So sometimes, and this is rare, I mean, I don't even know what analogy of rareness that I could use, as rare as maybe you seeing an alien, maybe, and saying, yes, that's seeing a UFO. As rare as it is for you, maybe in your lifetime, to see a UFO. And narcissists can experience something called a narcissistic collapse. What this is when they somehow come to, it's after they've most likely hit rock bottom, they've lost their supply. And I'll tell you more about the supply later, but they've lost their supply to feed their ego. They don't have anyone close. They feel abandoned. They start looking inward because that's all that's left. And they realize they're the source of a lot of their problems and misery. And it is a very, very sensitive time period, because this is when they can become suicidal. This is when they can, just become tied back to their original ego state, which is the most fragile, sensitive one that they originally had from the beginning. And when this happens, then they're at the vulnerable stage where, if they seek treatment and they get someone who knows what they're doing and understands narcissism, they can get help. This is very rare, very rare. Most likely not. So, going back to Lacretia, it's not just me. There are a lot of clinicians who are narcissistic personality disorder is difficult for them to either even recognize or see, especially if they're not systemic or family therapists. They're not going to be looking for these things because more often than not, they don't have more than one person present in the therapy room. A marriage and family therapist usually does. They have families, they have couples, married and unmarried. And so you're looking at the presentation of how these two people are relating to each other, and that shows you if there is a measure of control, if there is a measure of manipulation. All those things can show up. Whereas when you're just meeting a person one-on-one, you're not going to readily see that they're a narcissist, because the only person they're going to be manipulating, if you're the therapist in that room, is you. So you're not going to pick up on it readily. So it is something. No, there is no trust. There is no trust just given freely. Once I anticipate or recognize the traits in a family that I'm working with, I am very cautious, and I am very documenting. I'm documenting everything that I notice, because this go one way. It can end poorly if you don't know what to do. And typically narcissists do not like me because I can see through the mask. I can see the manipulation. I will point out the tactics. Like you said, the no nonsense, that's very me. That's my approach. I'm a very direct person. And so if I see something toxic happening, I'm going to say, hey, let's say I have a couple in front of me and I suspect one of them is a narcissist and he's trying to use this therapy space to scapegoat his partner, or she is trying to use the therapy space to, triangulate with me and alienate her partner to make them out to be the source of the problem in the relationship. I'm going to call out what I see. This is a manipulation tactic. That is coercive. Okay, you're gaslighting her. Okay, can you tell me how that's not financial abuse? I'm going to call those things out. So typically, the narcissists that I've actually come across, they don't stay around me very long anyway, because they do not like being held accountable. They do not like when a person can see their true face through those masks. So typically, if they can tell that you're a person who can see them for who they really are, they're not going to be around you anyway. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But let's make sure we answer what is the advice to co-parent? Once again, the title of the book is How to Co-Parent with a Narcissist. So
that was the thing. That's the thing. It's actually not. I specifically and purposely and intentionally avoid the use of the word co-parenting. It is not possible to co-parent with a narcissist. So what I say is the Safe Parent's Guide to Parenting with a Narcissist. I specifically avoid the use of the word co-parenting because,
okay.
Co-parenting, and another term you'll hear floating around is parallel parenting. Co-parenting assumes the idea that you're working with two mentally stable, emotionally present, and attentive parents. With a narcissist, you are not doing that. You cannot co-parent with a narcissist because unless you do every single thing they want, how they want, don't hold them accountable or call them out when there's a conflict or there's an issue, unless you risk the safety and mental health and emotional health and stability of your child, you're not able to co-parent with them. It's impossible.
So
Parallel
what type of advice do you give to your sister as far as her narcissistic spouse, or not spouse, but mate, baby father?
So I encourage her to get her own therapist, and I encourage her, just like in my book for everyone else, you need to be strategic. You need to, I call it in my book, I call it strategic parenting, because you have to be smart, you have to be aware, and you have to document. Anytime there's something unsafe happening, either, and you need to categorize it. So there's emotional abuse, there's verbal abuse, there's physical abuse, and there's neglect. Those are the primary things that can be dangerous in the scope of dealing with a parent who is a narcissist. So the recommendation is document those instances, but you also need to be able to have a way to detox your own emotional responses, because once you've had a child with a narcissist, there's a lot going on. First, there's grief. There's so much grief because you are learning the hard way that the person that you first met, the person that first presented to you, is not who this person really is. So you are probably planning a future. You're seeing you two as parents, and you're thinking of all the things that are going to happen with this two-parent household for your child. You're thinking of all the ways this mother or father is going to show up for your kid and be in their life, and all these memories you're going to create, and then bam, you figure out that's not going to happen because this person has a completely different agenda and they are not who they presented themselves to me to be. And then the abuse starts. And when I say the abuse, sometimes it's physical abuse, Sometimes, most times, it's coercion, it's financial abuse, it is verbal and emotional abuse, belittling, demeaning, condescension, name calling. They want to shrink you, and it is persistent,
This
persistent.
sounds this sounds a lot like just regular African American relationships. To be a baby mama, baby daddy. This is exactly what it sounds like. It don't sound like and it doesn't sound like I'm just being it don't sound like a disorder. It literally sounds like people who had children out of wedlock. Because this is typically how it turns out. Court systems get involved. You know, you mentioned financial abuse, mental abuse. Then you said something about physical abuse. So like, if you deem this person to be a narcissist, and they spank their child, are you now documenting that and saying, "Oh, this narcissist has spanked his child," or he raised his voice at the child? Oh, look, he's trying to manipulate. It sounds. I'm going to be honest. As I'm listening, it sounds extremely wishy-washy, and it sounds as though you would hate to be labeled as this. And like, I'll give you an example. This is exactly what it sounds like to me. When I was a younger man, I urinated outside. Okay, they gave me a ticket for that. They gave me a ticket for that. And then when I was telling, other people, yeah, man, I got a ticket for this, it did not happen. But they're like, did you know you could go on the sex offenders list because you pissed outside? And so
for the exposure, yeah.
Right. So it sounds like an over exaggeration. It sounds like people that irresponsibly breed it, and because it didn't work out, either she's a narcissist or he's a narcissist. But it didn't, like, I haven't heard anything where I was like, oh, I need to look out for that. You know what I'm saying? Because this is what's going on. And I'm wondering too, like, have you ever advised anyone to, like, avoid letting their child see their other parent? Like, oh, you know what? He's a narcissist. Keep that child away. Keep that child away from his father or her mother. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time it will be father, because in the Black community, the mother typically ends up with the child. So are you in a situation where you're telling people to keep their kid away?
No. So as a therapist, it is not my job to tell you how to physically discipline. If you choose to use physical discipline, which I know is a standard at this point in the Black community, especially, that's your prerogative. So the way that Child Protective Services views it is, are you leaving marks? Are you neglecting? Are you sexually abusing? If those things are happening,
you're a person that talks
then
to Child Protective
Services. I'm a person who's worked for Child Protective Services.
However, we have legal paperwork to pick up the child tonight.
Well, what? No, give me a reason.
Because, Ms. Coleman, we've been speaking with you for the last 2 weeks concerning keeping someone in the house to help you. You have fired. Ms. Coleman asked me to give. Ms. Coleman, you have asked me to give you a reason, and if you don't listen. Ms. Coleman. Ms. Coleman, at this moment in time, we have legal rights, and when you say your child, this child no longer belongs to you. She is a ward of the state. Ms. Coleman, she is a ward of the state, and so she belongs to me. Ms. Coleman, can you please open the door so we can get Destiny?
Being a therapist, the type of therapist that I am legally mandated to report physical abuse. So the way that physical abuse is, of course, is so, let's use your example. So I'm assuming you were a young man when this happened, or were you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just say you're a young man and you did what you did. You got a ticket from a police officer, and you came to your parents, or maybe they even they walked you to the door, and your parents
Oh
see
no.
you.
When I said young man, I meant I was old enough. I was like, what, 21, like 21,
Okay.
22 or
Okay.
something. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So let's just, for the sake of proving my example, let's say you were a child. Let's say it was a child who did this, a minor under the age of 18. You did something bad, and you go to your parent and you tell them, "Hey, I got in trouble." Or let's say, here's a good one. That I've had to got suspended from school. Right? I got suspended from school. Now, there are many different, dynamics that can, that we can use to address this, but since we're both brown skinned people, we're gonna talk about the Black community, right?
Right on.
So in the Black community, and this is, how long do we have?
We good. We good, sis. We good.
Is there a time limit?
No, ain't no time limit because I got other questions.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying myself. I'm hoping you're doing the same.
Yeah, I am. I just know that I'm entering into a rabbit hole because I kind of have a soapbox about this. So I want to make sure we have time to enter that hole before
I'm gonna cut you off. I'm
open
gonna let
that
you
up.
run, but I'm gonna cut you off too. Go ahead.
Okay. So, in the Black community, physical discipline is a standard. You and I, most likely in your childhood or in your family dynamic, this is true for you, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
This, a part of my job, and I'm not, entering into that with you, but I'm just pointing out some of the way that I work. So is to challenge some of the cultural beliefs and standards that can contribute to trauma dynamics. And one of them is this belief that not just, and I realize too, for anyone non-brown watching, I'm not saying that the Black culture, Black community has ownership over physical discipline, but I'm going to take this back a step, and people can disagree or not, specifically you, but in any case, since it's us discussing this, when we think about where physical discipline's origins come from in the Black community, the first time we were starting to see that physical discipline is something that was effective as a means of changing behavior, or controlling behavior, was during slavery. So slave owners would beat slaves, they would rape their children, they would get out whips, chains, and they would hit slaves. And then if the slaves' children stepped out of line, they would expect them to physically strike them too, to get them into get your child. They're not doing what I want them to do. And so once we became free as a people, that was the main way that we knew and understood how to control and change behavior, using our hands, using physical striking. But when you think about it, when you break down the act to physically strike, hit someone, whether it's with your hand or an object, that is a violent act. And we wouldn't say it was violent if it wasn't violent, because let's challenge your immediate thinking. Whenever a adult man or an adult woman strikes each other, we call that what? Domestic violence. If your boss slapped you in the face when you went to work, you would call that assault, and you could file charges and they could get jail time or fine for that. Anytime it's anyone else who is raising their hand or raising an object to strike or hit someone, it's considered violence. So, how is that any different when we are doing it under the guise of the label discipline? When we think about the function of discipline, the purpose of that function is what? I want to change your behavior because I dislike what you did and I'm not happy about it. So I'm going to hit you because I want you to learn that this isn't okay and you need to do something different, right? That's the purpose. Where did we learn that? Where did we first encounter that? Slave owners. So
I would disagree. I would
Okay.
disagree. Do you believe in the Bible?
I do.
So you believe in the God of the Bible? The God of the Bible
Jehovah,
has
yes.
instructed us since the beginning to spank the child. If you,
Are you
everybody
referring to
knows,
that scripture that you should not spare the rod to spoil the child?
right?
Is that what
Exactly.
you're talking
Yeah,
about? Yeah.
yeah. It says
That's
foolishness
a
is bound.
literal.
It
That's a
says
literal.
no. It says foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction chases it away. And I might have butchered that last part, but it says foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction chases it away. So you are the act of disciplining a child through physical through a physical means is not something that was taught to us by Caucasians. We were taught that's from the Bible. What the Caucasians did to us with raping our children and raping us and raping our fathers and raping our mothers, that is not that should not be practiced in anybody's house, And this is what this goes back to my original point, is that this sounds like an over exaggeration of regular life, regular behaviors. And I could be wrong, but that's why I'm hoping that you could have gave me something else. But let's do this because I got some other questions I want to ask you. Do you got your book with you? All right, so I want you to hold it up so people can see the cover. I want you
well, this is a pre-sale copy.
So that's her book. Where's it available
at? So right now it's available on Amazon currently. I'm about to open up to, I guess, worldwide distribution. So at the end of the month, it should be available at Barnes and Nobles, Walmart, pretty much anywhere that books are sold, including the local library. And then currently, because of the book signing that I just did Monday and the turnout and how well that went, I'm giving it away for free on Gumroad. So that post is on my page. So I've got all that information and all that stuff up there.
And you got a website too, right? What's your website?
Yeah, elevatedtherapywellness.com.
Elevated awareness. No, let me
Elevated
therapy and
wellness. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
.com. All right. So I want y'all all to check her website out, check her book out. The whole narcissist thing, we're gonna see if it's real or if it's fake. Because like I said, when I go back to some of the things that you said, the person can work a room. Then you like, well, these are some of the best traits. It's like almost like I don't know. It sounds like something that just diagnose somebody with, like how they was doing all the black kids with the ADHD.
I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was a freshman in high school. And before they did all the tests, it is true what they say about young black men in school and they don't know what to do with them, that they try to put them in special ed. Because I was in the 9th grade and they was trying to put me in special ed. And when I went to the special ed class, I was damn near the smartest one in there.
He don't have ADHD. He can't sit in your classroom and be taught about George Washington for 8 hours and Abraham Lincoln. Now, if you would have put Jesus Christ, a black man, in front of him, maybe he would have been more ecstatic. You would have told him that King David was a black man. Maybe he would have been more ecstatic. But you give him these white figures, and it's hard for him to just sit in his class. And now you have diagnosed this dude with ADHD, and you popping pills, and then they taught you to label our sons narcissists and our daughters narcissists. I don't know.
I think you are limiting yourself in our culture, because this isn't a black thing. Narcissism isn't a black thing. It is a human thing. And so let's make that distinction very clear, because yes, some of these traits, being envious, I guess, matter of fact, I got the DSM right here. We can go look at them. We can look at the actual clinical traits if it helps you, because I hear you saying this sound. It's minimized in your mind. This is a minimized thing, and I can understand why.
If my son grows up to be funny, I'm gonna be like, cool.
So that's not a trait of narcissism, though. Let me help you see.
I'm gonna have to edit that in, because you said the person is typically funny. They can work
I said
around.
If you're with someone that is a narcissist, one of the things that they do, one of their behavior traits, is they will mask. What that means is when you meet them, you're not going to know that they're a narcissist because obviously that would be a deterrent, right? So they're going to present to you their best self, their most charming self. That's the other thing, that a narcissist is a very charming person. They know how to work a room. They know how to read people very well. These are things they've learned very early on during childhood. But this is something that they have also developed, which is the ability to be master manipulators. So when you first meet a narcissist, you have no idea. You think you've met the best friend in the world, or your best partner. They're funny, they're engaging, they're intelligent, they're witty. They're going to hit all the points, whatever the points are that they know you want, they're going to give them to you. So here, let's look at the criteria straight from the DSM. So number 1, has a grandiose sense of self-importance. So they exaggerate their achievements and their talents, and they expect to be recognized as superior without putting in the work or actually having the achieved accomplishments. That's number 1. Okay. Number 2 is preoccupied with fantasies. So this is where I said bordering obsession. They're preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, love, all of those things. Number 3, believes that he or she is special and unique in ways that can only be understood by other special, high-status people or institutions. They require excessive admiration, meaning, and I'll get more into that in a little, has a sense of strong entitlement and unreasonable expectations for especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with their expectations. Number 6 is exploitive. They will exploit anybody and take advantage of any person to achieve their own agenda. Number 7, lacks empathy and is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings or needs of others. Number 8, is often envious of other people, or they believe that the people are envious of them because of their high stature. And number 9, shows arrogant, haughty behaviors and attitudes. So these are the 9 characteristics clinically straight from the book, right?
You said the DSM, right?
Yes.
What is the DSM? What does that stand for?
The Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders. That's straight from the American Psychiatric Association. That's where we create the diagnoses for mental health disorders. And those are straight from that book. 5 of them together is what makes up a narcissist. And yes, like I said, every person to some degree may have 1, maybe 3. And that's normal, and that's okay. That's safe. But when we have 5 to 9 of those, plus we're adding in the fact that this is not a disorder that typically occurs alone. It's often with another very serious disorder because there is a spectrum. We're looking at antisocial personality disorder. That's basically psychopathy, sociopathy. So these are the people who you're adding in a person that doesn't have empathy with a person who has no remorse or regard for any social customs, laws, or concerns. So these are the psychopaths, sociopaths. These are the people who will kill on a whim if they need to and have no qualms about it, lose no sleep. So let me help you see a little bit clearer. I've known a narcissist so you're saying, do I tell people to stay away? No, I don't, but I will point out the behaviors. I've had accounts about narcissists who would 3 a.m. in the middle of the night, a.m., leave their female partner on the side of a highway alone, just in a random middle of the road, and leave them there because they were getting into an argument and they didn't like what was being said. So they dumped this person out on the side of the road, drove away at 3 a.m. and left them to find their way home. And that is not a normal response to a conflict.
How many times did something like that happen? Did that only happen one time, or was it multiple times?
One time is too many.
No, I get it.
Okay.
I get it, but I want to know, was this something that continued to happen, or when it was reported to you, was it just a one-time thing?
Stop fighting for attention and start getting it. Whether you need shoutouts, promo videos, or a full feature, I'm helping businesses grow through Mighty Talk. Check out our affordable packages starting at $75. Shoot me an email at mightytalk@mail.com. Success is one email away.
That particular thing, leaving the person by the side of the highway, to my knowledge, happened once, but the abuse, the tactics, ongoing. And the reason for that, research shows us that a person in any type of abusive relationship, we call it intimate partner violence or domestic violence, which doesn't just mean physical, but the emotional, because sometimes that emotional abuse can sometimes be way worse than the physical, because the physical, it hurts and you might have, you have some healing to do, but once it's healed, it's done, right? But the emotional, that's something that can carry through not just you, but you can pass it on to your children, because it can create things like anxiety, depression, mental health disorders that can be passed down. Because if you're pregnant while you're dealing with, anxiety of not knowing who's going to show up today, what version of your partner you're going to get, that anxiety is passing through to your baby, and your baby can be born with anxiety coming out and having that same predisposition for it. So it is tricky, but I think when it comes to trying to understand why is this different from just toxic relationships, because you're saying this sounds just like what happens with unwed mothers and things like that, where you're not planning, you're not paying attention to who you're with, and you're not having protected sex, and you're getting, a child being born into a dynamic where you don't really know this person. And that does unfortunately happen in the Black community, which is why it's so important to have marriage and family therapists to be out there to teach these young ladies and these young men what safe relational dynamics looks like. What a healthy,
Okay, stop right there. I'm glad you said that, because now we can transition. Because that's what I want to ask you about, the family therapy.